As the baddest of the Detroit Pistons Bad Boys in the late 80s, Laimbeer was as famous for being a crybaby jerk as he was for his contributions to the Pistons' back-to-back championships. He is undoubtedly one of the most polarizing figures in NBA history. Laimbeer's physicality and aggressive play made him a feared opponent and a fan favorite in Detroit, but also earned him a reputation as a dirty player.
Cummings off the fake, and he was hacked.
That's a tough matchup right there.
How does a nice-looking young guy goes to Notre Dame, bright student, has a clever and interesting college career, suddenly become one of the bad boys of the NBA?
Well, I don't think he was all of a sudden. I think it's been building up throughout the years. A few years ago, when our team got very good and were a threat to the Boston Celtics, the Boston media machine was pumped out all this information about how we were a bunch of thugs. And it's kind of snowballed from there. It's become very fashionable to call me a dirty player and to dog me on national television syndicated shows. And, I mean, it's just kind of a snowball effect. It's very fashionable.
Despite his controversial style of play, Laimbeer's on-court accomplishments cannot be denied. He was a four-time NBA All-Star, a two-time NBA champion, and one of the best rebounders and three-point shooters of his era.
Lamb will try a triple. It's through for three.
The list of players that Laimbeer triggered is a who's who of that era. Charles Barkley, Larry Bird, Sidney Moncrief, Robert Parish, Scottie Pippen, and Dominique Wilkins. Laimbeer retired as Detroit's all-time leading rebounder.
Fortunately, everybody kind of picks out one person on their team to be a designated villain. I happen to be it.
It's a crybaby. He keeps crying about the fouls get called on him, but he keeps wrestling everybody out of the picture.
Laimbeer dominates the wanted posters in Boston, and he was victim to a vicious massacre in Atlanta.
The fans took a cardboard replica of my jersey and chainsawed it in half during halftime last year during the playoffs. That was a little unique.
Style was often ugly and ungainly, pulling on arms, pushing on backs, sticking a foot out here and there, flopping on his back with a pained expression. It enabled Laimbeer, who played his college ball at Notre Dame, to become one of 19 players with more than 10,000 points and 10,000 rebounds to make 4 All-Star teams, led the NBA in rebounding one season, play 685 consecutive games, and start on 2 championship teams.
Right side, Laimbeer comes up shooting good. Dumars cross-court left, Laimbeer, 18-footer right there. Bill Laimbeer to the key. Left side, Laimbeer, he shoots the outside shot right through.
He's had a great NBA career, said Bulls coach Phil Jackson, but he's been a jerk out there.
I make no apologies for my game throughout my career. The only respect and admiration I need is of the 12 teammates on our ball club. And as long as they're all for me and I'm all for them and I have their respect, that's all that matters. And whatever the general public thinks about my style of play, I really could care less.
Laimbeer was proud of not having a single friend in the NBA. As the years went on and his skills diminished, Laimbeer became almost a caricature of himself, snarling even at Pistons office personnel in a mock version of a wrestling villain.
Laimbeer's character is unliked by many.
I don't believe that. Laimbeer gets in a fight seemingly once a week. How'd I do?
Well, that all depends on what's being judged. If you're looking for the villain of the NBA, that's what Bill Laimbeer calls himself, then the fans score him a perfect 10. And if you're judging candidness, speaking your mind, Laimbeer does just as well. How many players would grab the headlines going into the playoffs by being very critical of their general manager for trading veteran players and for turning the coach into a lame duck?
Bill Laimbeer wasn't always the universal bad guy. At Notre Dame, he was a spoiled rich kid whose achievement scores were among the highest in the class, yet he flunked out. Adrian Dantley recalling how Laimbeer would cut practice standing at the first tee of the golf course while players marched by on the way to practice. Laimbeer finished up at Notre Dame in 1979, then went overseas after being drafted by Cleveland and was traded to the Pistons in 1982, joining a poor, offensive-minded team as just another lug. But Laimbeer was more. If hardly charming, he refused to defer to the league's more skilled athletes. He positioned himself and took offensive charges so well that NBA coaches used clips of Laimbeer's flopping as a teaching tool. As a center, Laimbeer used his outside shooting skills to great advantage in becoming a unique player for those championship Pistons teams. But he also got swept up in the image the NBA helped create for him, the league actually providing the Bad Boys nickname for marketing purposes. Laimbeer, generally ornery, spoiled, and childish anyway, latched on with fervor. But the NBA was becoming a league of high flyers and athletic magicians like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. And as the Pistons prospered, suddenly there was no place for Laimbeer's tactics.
The game itself is not as rough in the regular year as it is in the playoffs. As far as the way I play the same way in the playoffs I do in a regular season on full go. But in the playoffs, there's a lot more emotion, a lot more physical play is allowed. So you have to get out there and bang and be physical or you're going to get beat.
He's got fresh legs tonight, really fresh legs. Pass under to Thompson. He's there, puts it up, and he's fouled from behind by Laimbeer. Laimbeer hit the ball. He also hit him with about 240 pounds of body. Technical foul, Laimbeer. Good. Magic going the distance. He's all the way. Put it up and got it. Foul. Laimbeer and Green in a fight.
Robert Parish, who was fined and suspended for punching Laimbeer in a playoff game in 1987, said it was the best money he ever spent. Laimbeer never uttered a word of protest when one of the worst calls in NBA history, a weak push in the back to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1988, cost the Pistons an NBA championship.
Competitive nature has something to do with the way I'm perceived. I don't give an inch at all on the court. I don't give anybody any respect. I think that's a major problem with a lot of other players is I don't respect their game. If they happen to get in the way, well, that's not my fault. That's their fault. Stay out of our way. We're coming through trying to win the game. And in professional athletics, that's the difference between being good and being a champion.
He said his greatest accomplishment as a player was never being on the injured list, which he avoided to the point of playing with a face protector when hurt. When Bill Laimbeer retired, Sports Illustrated wrote that he would not be missed, but he won't be forgotten either. There are, in fact, any number of contradictions swirling around the large 6'11", 265-pound person of Laimbeer, like his close friendship with Isiah Thomas, who was as popular around the league as Laimbeer was unpopular. They both spent most of their formative years in Chicago, but thousands of symbolic miles apart, Thomas in the mostly black ghetto of K-Town, Laimbeer in the all-white, well-manicured suburb of Clarendon Hills. Thomas's mother, Mary, warded off neighborhood pushers with a shotgun. Laimbeer's parents drove him and his future wife, the former Chris Skyver, to formal dance classes in which they learned funky steps like the foxtrot. Thomas chased basketball with a relentless passion to escape the misery and deadness around him. Laimbeer yawned and hoisted up a few jumpers in the driveway. Though it's no longer true, Laimbeer used to claim that I'm the only player in the NBA who makes less money than his father. I guess it was an easy life for Bill, says his father, but he found his own niche and succeeded in it. Most lily white kids, don't know how to mix it up. Yes, I was lucky, says Laimbeer, but in basketball, nobody ever gave me anything. Least of all speed and jumping ability. As former Detroit Pistons coach once said, Bill's the epitome of the guy running in sand. Despite his size and bulk, he had almost no back-to-the-basket moves, no turnaround jumper, no power drive, and certainly no skyhook. In the words of Cleveland bruiser Lonnie Shelton, Laimbeer tippy toes around the perimeter, arching long jump shots. He'd actually fit in nicely with the NBA of today in that sense. On the defensive boards, Laimbeer did everything anyone could ever ask of a center going on multi-year stretches as the league leader. Other contradictions? His work ethic during the season could serve as a model for most NBA players, but in the off-season, he confounded management with his absolute refusal even to pick up a basketball. He had an agile mind, yet rarely exercised it during his college years. He flunked out of Notre Dame after a freshman year spent sleeping in, as he explains it, and finally graduated in the summer of 1979 by the skin of his teeth with a 2.00 something, he once said. Guess I'm a hard guy to figure out, says Laimbeer.
A guy with an opinion. Everybody's got their opinion. You got an opinion, I got an opinion, Bill Laimbeer's got an opinion, and it's going to be totally different at certain times. So it doesn't bother me to see other people give their opinions about certain things. If you're going to ask me my opinion, I'm going to give it to you. But it doesn't bother me as a person in terms of what I have to do in the basketball court. I'm going to go out and I'm going to play. And I'm aware of what his opinions are, but it's not going to affect the way I live.
And I have an opinion. I don't think these two teams like each other a whole lot. And I think that Michael Jordan is just taking the middle-of-the-road approach, just trying to be a nice, conservative guy, but that burns him up down deep inside.
You know, like when these two clubs together, it is almost a National Hockey League type mentality. All the bickering back and forth, setting things up, intimidation, mind games.
He took both a hard-nosed attitude and a gallon of wine to battle. He knocks people down, but is more comfortable wearing the cloak of victim. The master of the theatrical, said Sacramento's Rich Kelly. Indeed, Laimbeer's thespian flair seemed to be the principal reason he would never be the game's most popular player. Ex-Celtic Cedric Maxwell expressed the sentiment memorably, not to mention ichthyologically, when he said, "Laimbeer flops around like a fish out there," says Kevin McHale. I got to know Bill a little at the All-Star game. He's really a nice guy. He might even be a good guy to have on your team. But he flops. That's why players don't like him. Even Laimbeer admits he flopped. His ability to fake contact and take a fall borders on wretched excess. Laimbeer was often booed vociferously. Given Laimbeer's college profile, only an extremely competitive person could have made it in the NBA. Even after he worked his way back to Notre Dame by taking 2 semesters of courses at Owens Technical College in Toledo, he averaged just 7.3 points and 6.0 rebounds in his final 2 years under Digger Phelps.
Away from the game, Bill's soft demeanor couldn't be in sharper contrast with his maligned public image.
It seems like ever since the Pistons have really been competitive, all of a sudden he's been labeled as a dirty player. And I think they see a big guy who can't run and can't jump. And some guys feel threatened by it, I think. And, you know, he's not an angel by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think anybody else in the league is either.
He was surprised when the Cavaliers picked him in the 3rd round of the June 1979 draft, but the Cavs didn't call back to talk terms until mid-August, by which time Laimbeer had signed a $40,000 contract to play for Pinti Inox of Brescia in the Italian League. He averaged 21.1 points and 12.5 rebounds in Italy, then made the Cavs roster off his performance in the Southern California Summer League. After being traded to Detroit in February 1982, he slowly but surely blossomed. In an interview with Sports Illustrated, Laimbeer said that his friendship with Isiah Thomas had given him a clearer perspective on the world. And, as with most white athletes, it is Laimbeer who talks with black inflection and in black idioms around the locker room, not vice versa. But there was still a distance between them. On the road, Laimbeer did go to black clubs with his buddy, and he has a circle of well-to-do friends from his past who have almost no contact with blacks. "I don't want to start bringing Isiah around them just to show him off," said Laimbeer. "That would make both of us uncomfortable." From Laimbeer, Thomas learned to stop feeling so much guilt about being successful. Not exactly moral precept number 1, but a lesson is a lesson. "It was always very hard for me to go back to where I came from," says Isiah. "It wasn't anyone else's fault. It was my problem. Bill helped me look at it a little differently."
Place Laimbeer in the wake of controversy. But to help him cope and gain a clearer perspective, he seeks the calmer waters of his hobbies, including power boating and a passion for fishing.
You know, this is quite a contrast to some of the opposing arenas when they want my blood. But I like to get out and fish. It's so peaceful. You spend all your life in front of 20,000 people hollering and screaming, you know, scrutinizing every move you make. And I'll fish sometimes from 12 o'clock till 4 in the morning during the playoffs because I'm not able to sleep.
Laimbeer was more than a goon. He was one of the league's best weak-side defenders, as well as a rugged rebounder, a solid scorer, and an all-star actor. No one did a better flop. Villain or no villain, he could play, and there's a number 40 hanging from the rafters of the Palace of Auburn Hills to prove it. Actually, he said, "I think people who saw me regularly recognized that I wasn't such a bad guy." Once Laimbeer's playing days were done, he turned to coaching, where he enjoyed near immediate success. During the middle of the 2002 WNBA season, Laimbeer took over the reins as head coach of the Detroit Shock. After finishing 9-13 that season, Laimbeer coached the Shock to a 25-9 season that ended with him winning WNBA Coach of the Year honors and the franchise winning its first WNBA title. Laimbeer would eventually guide the Shock to 2 more WNBA championships, 2006 and 2008, before stepping down as coach in 2009.
Both on and off the court. We may keep it lively and have a lot of fun, which is what sports is all about. You don't have fun, well, then you shouldn't be in it. And the fans have been very supportive, not only of the Shock, but also of myself. That's been a real good.
As coach of the Shock, Laimbeer's record was 137-93. After leaving the Shock, Laimbeer went on to have a 2-year stint as an assistant coach with the Minnesota Timberwolves before returning to the WNBA to coach the New York Liberty.
This is not an award about myself. This is an award about a staff. And they actually should change the name of the award to the coaching staff of the year. There's no question that the staff that I have is second to none with Katie Smith and Herb Williams and Teresa Witherspoon, and also our trainer Laura Ramus, who's damn near the best in the league. I couldn't do this without them. The players will tell you the same thing. They're very well liked. So, but someone has to get their name stuck up on the award. I guess I'm the one. But I said again, it's not about me. It never has been about me. It's about the players. It's about the team. And I think everybody's happy. It shows that we got something done in the regular season. Doesn't mean we won anything. We don't get bonuses for those things. You know, it just goes up in someplace in the closet or someplace and over the course of time. But I do want to say thank you to Mr. Dolan for giving us all the great facilities and hiring me back. And Isiah was a big part of that also. I want to say thanks to him. So other than that, it's good it's going quickly because I got to go back to work.
Where he earned another Coach of the Year honor, 2015, and the Las Vegas Aces, whom he guided to 3 straight conference finals and 1 WNBA finals appearance.
Right, so they're going to scout us on this, right? What happened was she hit, she went off. Sometimes they switched. Yeah. Right, back up. Okay, so what happened then was here comes Williams, and here's what we did. I'm guarding Williams. I did this, and I came through here, right? We're gonna make them pay for that one. If that's happening, and we look at each other. All we can do is she's coming off. Liz just comes over and seals. She just steps right back. 3-ball all day long. Okay, let's try that one.
Three-time WNBA champ. You were a 2-time Coach of the Year as well, and you also did a few things on the NBA side as well. But we appreciate you being with us and all that you've given to this game. It's really remarkable, but you really pieced this team together. This team is really here in Las Vegas thanks to what you did. How's it feel to kind of be retired right now?
2 different things. Being retired is nice. I'm not responsible for anybody anymore. I ran my course. I don't have the energy to coach anymore. It takes too much energy. I don't have it. And also didn't want to be responsible. There's a new regime, a new time to move on. So, and I had a nice career. Hopefully everybody that played for me or worked with me has gotten something from me, and I think I've done an okay job.
Laimbeer was recently announced as a first-time nominee for the Hall of Fame. Like we said, Bill Laimbeer may not be missed, but he will never be forgotten.